Hi, I'm Anthony. I'm here today with cybrary.it. I'm your local subject matter expert here for A+, and today we're going to talk about adding and configuring expansion cards. Your motherboard typically comes with standard input-output, such as keyboard, video, sometimes Ethernet USB connections, and we'll sometimes have serial connections. It really depends on the motherboard that you're getting, or the default manufacturer specifications. A lot of times, however, we may need to throw in something different. These additional cards that we add are referred to as expansion cards, and there's a lot of things that we can do with them. We can add sound cards to give us capabilities like surround sound that comes out of our computer for if we have a home entertainment computer. We can add video cards, network cards for being able to connect our computer to the internet. We can also add wireless cards if we don't have built-in wireless, different modem cards if we need to have a computer being able to connect to the internet through a phone line to act as a modem. We also have different storage cards if we need to have external storage for our computer. And then you also have special cards such as TV tuner cards and video capture cards. All of these different type of expansion cards are really up to you what you want to put in your computer based on your needs. You know, if you can get more out of it by, say, you need to actually have better sound, video, and video capture capabilities, you can add these into your computer and browse around for the best value for your money. This is a little bit better than buying, say, a computer that's already set up with everything and has absolutely no expansion slots. And computer manufacturers don't do that because they know that people want to be able to customize it if need be. Now, how do we add on to these expansion cards? How do we install these and configure these? On our motherboard, we'll see we have our PCI slots. And of course, as we've seen in earlier videos, different motherboards have different number of slots, different types of slots. This computer just comes with a standard PCI slot. So, for example, if we wanted to install a general video and sound card, we could just place that directly into our PCI slot. And now when we have our computer installed, or our motherboard installed back into our computer, we'll have those additional ports. Same goes with other type of motherboards that may have PCI-X or accelerated graphics ports. All of these ports vary depending on exactly which type of card you're using, what the manufacturer of the card you want, or how high quality the port is. We've talked about how earlier the accelerated graphics port can actually borrow system memory. So if you need really high-end graphics capabilities, you may want to use a graphics card that uses an AGP port rather than just using a standard PCI port. And you'll want to make sure when you're buying a computer, depending on what types of cards you may be wanting to add into your computer, you understand which types of expansion slots you have on your motherboard, whether it be AGP or PCI, or of course we have our PCIe versus PCI-X. It all really depends on which type of cards you're adding and how much you're willing to pay for that computer depending on what type of expansion slots it has. A couple examples of some expansion slots we have. This would be an example of an extended graphics card. And then we already mentioned we have our sound card, and it also has video capabilities. And this would be an example of a wireless card that you could add onto your computer. Again, it all really depends on what type of capabilities you're looking for in your computer and what you need to add onto it. Now, before we just install the card into our computer, there's a few things we need to be aware of. The first one is, of course, what type of slots we have in our computer, making sure that they correspond with the type of card that we're buying. But we also want to check the motherboard's documentation as far as the capabilities of our motherboard as far as handling how many slots it has. Next, we want to actually check the adapter card documentation. For example, this D-Link Plus, which is a wireless adapter card, you couldn't just take this card, put it directly into the motherboard, and expect your computer to have wireless capabilities. There's something that you would need to do called installing a driver. Now, a driver is basically a piece of software that allows our computer, our operating system, to interact with the hardware. Let's go ahead and draw a little diagram. Our computer works at several different layers. This wireless card is a piece of hardware. So it's something we can physically touch. It works at our bottom layer here. So we'll just call this our hardware layer. When we're working with computers, typically what we're going to be looking at and working through is called our application layer. And this is going to be our user interface. This is going to be where we actually go onto the computer and we make the changes and enter our wireless password. And that's what we're interacting with in order to try to talk with the hardware. We can't go directly from application layer down to hardware layer. The translation there doesn't work very well. So we have to go through a few steps. So our application layer, we go down through our operating system. Now our operating system could be Windows 7, Windows 8, Linux, and these operating systems actually interact with us through the application layer. So we as humans can interact with the application layer and go down, and which in turn goes down and talks up through the operating system layer. But again, the operating system layer can't talk down directly to the individual piece of hardware. It still needs something to be able to translate that information and know how to talk down to the hardware. This is called a driver. Our driver, also known as our device driver, is basically our translator. It's what allows our application layer to talk all the way down to the hardware layer, and it's what allows our hardware layer to translate things back up. Depending on the type of card that expansion card that we're adding, sometimes the manufacturer specifications will tell us to install the card first and then install the driver. Sometimes we may get a card that just uses a generic driver, or sometimes the actual in this case of the D-Link, this actually comes with a disk that you actually need to put in before you install the card, and you go through and you install all the driver information, and then you go back through later after you turn off the computer and install the card, and then you restart the computer, and now after you've installed the driver and installed the hardware, then you can interact with the hardware. So we've talked a little bit about expansion cards, the several different types that they have, as well as how we install them, and not only physically, but also using the driver. So always just make sure that we're checking out the manufacturer specifications, and we're checking out our instruction guides, and we'll be sure that we can add on those advanced video cards and sound cards, and we can take our computer and take it from the manufacturer and actually make it something that's our own.